Only one statistic needs to be looked at very closely from that report. That is that 55 districts in India are still reporting more than 10% positivity rate. We can look at numbers in any other way, but that figure needs to stay with you. On a day when the Prime Minister himself has once again been forced to intervene in the entire fight against COVID pandemic while addressing chief ministers, meeting the Kerala chief minister as well, the Prime Minister is warning against overcrowding in hill stations. Now, my phone has been buzzing, and I'm sure a lot of you would have probably got all these WhatsApp forwards of people visiting Nainital and Kempty Falls near Mussoorie. Everybody wants to get out. These are lovely monsoons. In Maharashtra, people are going towards Lonavala, and what else have you? It's all very well for people, for you, me. I also want to go out and I also want to have fun and enjoy the rains. But guess what? If you are enjoying the rains, and if you happen to be minus at least this basic mask, then I'm sorry to say you're making a big mistake. If you continue to hang out in places like these, and if you think that by not having a sanitizer with you, by simply pretending as if this was 2019 or 2018, then this will indeed be 2019-18. It's not going to happen, folks. The Prime Minister is now literally reading out the Riot Act. We've seen how in the national capital and in certain parts of Mumbai, decisions have been taken by the authorities to close down markets when there has been overcrowding. I look at metro stations in the national capital. There are so many people who've all gathered to get inside a metro. Is work from home now a thing of the past? Are we ready to open ourselves up to this degree where we are literally playing with our lives? Just take a look first up at what's being stated by the Prime Minister himself as we look at this real present danger of an imminent third wave which is staring at us.
हम अगर इन चीजों को बराबर सावधानी करेंगे तो हम तीसरी लहर को ही रोक पाएंगे। आने के बाद क्या करेंगे वो एक विषय है, लेकिन आते हुए रोकना ये प्रमुख विषय है। और इसके लिए हमारे नागरिकों में सजगता, सतर्कता, प्रोटोकॉल का पालन, इस पर हमने थोड़ा सा भी कॉम्प्रोमाइज नहीं करना है। और एक्सपर्ट भी बार बार ये चेतावनी दे रहे हैं कि असावधानी, लापरवाही, भीड़भाड़ ऐसे कारणों से कोरोना संक्रमण में भारी उछाल आ सकता है। और इसलिए ये जरूरी है कि हर स्तर पर हर कदम गंभीरता के साथ उठाए जाए।
That's what the Prime Minister is stating. Now, let's look at what's happening in specific COVID hotspots. So, northeastern parts, for instance, across India, 60% of states with 10% positivity rate, that's 8 states in total, are all from the northeastern parts of the country. That graphic is up there on your screens now. Look at Meghalaya, for instance, total cases 54,583, new cases 273. If you look at what's happening in Mizoram, whether it's Meghalaya, Mizoram, Sikkim, the story is the same everywhere across northeastern states. When we were looking at the state of Kerala, yesterday we were told that actually the reason why there are more positive cases which are coming from Kerala is because there is greater testing which is happening. Now when I look at this graphic, when I look at the numbers coming from the northeastern parts of the country, where 47 of 73 districts with high positivity rates are all coming from the northeastern parts of the country, 18 out of these 47 districts only and only from Arunachal Pradesh, 14 districts showing high cases of COVID-19 transgression. If I look at Northeast, do we come up with the same conclusion that the reason why these higher number of cases being reported is because there is greater, testing happening? Dr. Anish T.S. is an Associate Professor of Community Medicine from the Government Medical College in Thiruvananthapuram is live with us. Dr. Anil Arora, Friend of India Head and Chairman of Institute of Liver Gastroenterology from Gangaram Hospital live with us. Dr. Praveen Chandra is the Chairman, Intervention Cardiology at Medanta live with us. And Dr. Sanjeev Maskara joining us live from London. Good evening and warm welcome to all of you. Dr. Arora, let me begin with you. Last night, I was trying to look at the story of a sudden rise in the COVID positive cases from the prism of lack of vaccines. Now I look at it from the point of view of what's being stated by the Prime Minister. Please don't overcrowd in hill stations. Please don't mix up in big numbers. Is the higher percentage of positivity across northeastern states, is it because of overcrowding? Is it because of high testing? What could be the potential reason, according to you?
You see, if you look at the quantum of infection in northeastern region in the second wave, it was much less than what was seen in the central and the western part of India. If you remember the data repeatedly presented by Government of India and Dr. Randeep Guleria, there was a clear trend that the wave was moving from the western India via central India to the northeast. The total number of the cases reported were pretty less in that region. So everybody thought, since the second wave is just diminishing and taking off from the central and the western India, there will be no more second wave continuing in the northeastern region. And since the travel opened up, people started moving, and this is exactly what we are trying to see. Another thing I'd like to point out, Bhupinder, is that if you look at the denominator of infection in the Mizoram, when we talk of 85% positivity rate in some district, there is a district called Chambling, another district called Kaming in Mizoram, which and Arunachal Pradesh, in which it is claimed that 85% is positivity. But if you look at the sheer number of the tests which have been done, I think the data is pretty skewed. The total number of the cases which have been screened are 85, of which if 70 are positive, that doesn't mean 85% positivity will be there, because the denominator is much less because of the sparse population. We should remember that in fact it is the under testing in these regions, lack of containment, which is spreading the disease rather than lack of testing.
Fair point. Let me then look at it from a different prism, and let's look at it from the point of view of deaths which have been reported in the last 24 hours. And again, what we've done is we've broken it down across all the northeastern states. In Assam, for instance, the overall number of deaths in the last 24 hours, 37. In Arunachal Pradesh, if I look at it, the overall number of deaths in the last 24 hours, 2. If you move forward and you look at what's going on in Tripura, for instance, Meghalaya, the deaths in the last 24 hours, 5. Now, in Tripura, 15, in Nagaland, 4. Dr. Praveen Chandra, the number of deaths, the number of positive cases versus the overall population itself. Is there a cause for us to be worried about the northeastern states, that what we saw in the second wave, say in parts of central and northern India, is this wave now traveling across to the northeastern parts of the country?
Okay. So I think, this is very important thing to understand, as Professor Arora already mentioned, that the wave is not gone. The COVID is still there. And why these people were unaffected during the initial surge of cases, when it was affecting the western India, then in the central India, and now the north India, when Delhi was in such a deep surge, at that time northeast was spared because the movement was not happening at that time. But now, since the movement has happened, people are moving across states, and these people were completely naive. They were neither infected nor they were vaccinated. So those people who are either infected or vaccinated, they are protected. So this is why this infection, which is still there, so this is just telling us that the infection is there. It has not gone. So we have to be careful, and that is what the main point is. And that's what even the PM was saying today, that if we don't take precautions, this infectivity can again come back to us in these states, and as it is happening in the states where there was no earlier infection and there is no vaccination, and unfortunately we have not been able to ramp up the vaccination in the entire country.
I'll come to the vaccination part. I'll come to the lack of vaccines in a moment. I'm just trying to understand whether there's something happening in the northeastern parts of the country that we really need to turn our attention to. Dr. Anish, you're a member of the expert panel COVID-19 too, sir, and I've been speaking to various stakeholders in the government of Kerala, and I'm told that there is nothing to worry about if a state is reporting a higher positivity rate. Is there any difference that you see between the story which seems to be getting reported, say, from northeastern parts of the country and the story which is being reported from Kerala?
Definitely, there is a matter of concern because we are detecting a large number of cases now. and our systems are partially filled, our hospitals are partially filled. And if you are going to get large number of cases in the coming days also, it will be just like a surge. So it is actually a matter of concern. But in the other hand, you can see that the states that is currently surging, that may be Kerala, that may be the northern states, that was not surging up to compared to the other part of India at the time of the peak of second wave. Kerala was managing it pretty good, and you know that Kerala was the only state with oxygen surplus and all at the time of the peak of the curve. You can see that at the peak of the curve, maybe May 26th of May, when more than 4 lakh cases were reported in all over India, Kerala was reporting somewhere around 40,000, 10% of the country's stake or country's total number. But now Kerala is reporting almost 30 to 40% of the country's number. That may be because large numbers of people were protected at the time of the curve. And while our systems were open, now the locks are released. These people are coming to the streets and they are getting infected. So in one aspect, it is actually something bad that again you are going for large numbers and your systems are actually
So
surging.
what needs to be done? Dr. Anish, I was looking at the government of Uttarakhand, for instance, because our producers will play these pictures of what's happening across different hill stations, where it's in Nainital or, parts of Mussoorie, large number of tourists going there. What has now been decided? In a span of 3 days, the government of Uttarakhand has said that those who are coming from other states into Uttarakhand mandatorily have to go through the RT-PCR test. Would your suggestion be that at this stage, for the next 3 months, we need to be in a scenario where movement is still being curtailed? A free for all is not a situation which we can afford right now. Should that position be made absolutely clear across all states in India?
Definitely, that is a very, very important point. That when the surge is coming down, the wave is just disappearing. People will be in a false notion that they can move out, and this point of time, the super spreading events can happen. New virus can emerge. The emergence of new virus alone will not cause a wave. The wave, if you want to go for a wave, there should be large super spreading event should be happened in different parts of India.
Dr.
So
Chandra,
that,
Dr. Praveen, the reports which are coming, sir, for instance, from Indonesia, it's being, maybe Dr. Sanjeev is there. If you could hear me, Dr. Sanjeev, there is lots to learn from the point of view of the experiences which have been seen, say, in places like London. There's been first wave, second wave, and constant lockdowns. What do you think? What do you think is that maybe 1 or 2 critical lessons that India needs to take as we seem to be coming out of the second wave, but slowly it's becoming clearer that it's not as if this pandemic is behind us. What's the lesson that India needs to take, sir?
Thank you, Vipendra, for inviting me on this show. So I think we all have to realize that this COVID is not going away so quickly. It's going to stay for some time. And it's really heartbreaking to see all the, as you very clearly mentioned, that in all the northeast state, all the Himachal and everywhere, they're full of crowd. I think here it boils down to what Prime Minister Modi said. If we don't be responsible now, then you will have a third wave. So I think every person had to take their own responsibility. In UK, till day, all the healthcare worker, we are doing this rapid antigen testing twice a week before we go for test. Any large gathering, you would have seen the 90,000 people went to Wembley, a super spreader event. But however, all the people who attended this event, everyone had to have a rapid antigen test negative. Then only they were allowed to attend the gatherings. So, and all the large places, they were allowed to open only to 25 to 50% of their capacity. So I think there are a few things which we can learn. One is everyone should take their own responsibility. People should. I have seen that this rapid antigen testing kit is very widely available in India at very cheap rate, 250 rupees. People should do it. Try to avoid large gathering. Or if they really have to attend, keep the number minimum. Like we were allowed till day, we are only allowed 30 people outdoor and 6 people indoor, or 2 families. Okay, I know that Britain is going to open everything from July. Still, we are maintaining mask it's not going to be mandatory. I think we have some responsibility. If we don't take care of ourselves, I think the third wave is just will be knocking at our door. So I think it's very, very important. And then with many places still. Yesterday we went to a restaurant. Each restaurant you have to have a QR code scanned to your mobile, and you get a ping from the NHS COVID app if you are in contact.
Dr.
You have
Mascara,
been in.
my fear, sir, is that all these steps that you're talking about are steps which can be taken in a community which may be well healed. But in India, when yes, it's true that you can use Paytm and other digital apps to pay at a dhaba or some roadside place, but where cash is still the preferred mode in certain sections, smaller denominations not really being done, smaller transactions not happening, say via digital platforms, and a serious threat before us of another Kamar Yatra taking place where mass congregations could take place. Is vaccination, tell me, is vaccination the only way forward? Because we don't even seem to have the appropriate number of vaccines. So neither do we have the right number of vaccines, nor are we in a position to have the right kind of COVID appropriate behavior. What does India really need to do? What's that critical step according to you that we need to follow, let's say, for the next 7 days?
So one, the government should really ramp up the vaccination. In UK, we have more than 86% of people have been vaccinated now. So they all emerged that the link between the hospitalization and the death has been broken with a very high vaccine uptake. So one thing I will just request everyone, whoever, to get hold of a vaccine if they can, and get as many people as possible. That's number one.
Okay.
But that's not possible in short term. That is a long term. I think still the wearing the mask, social distancing, avoiding the large gathering, and doing the rapid antigen testing. I think that will be one of the key. I think to avoid this super spreader event.
All right.
Because if we don't control it now, I think it won't be long that we'll be seeing the third wave and same
Dr.
oxygen
Anish,
scarcity.
Dr. Anish, the Prime Minister, in his meeting with all the chief ministers today, we've seen the Tamil Nadu chief ministers repeatedly been speaking about more vaccines. We need 1 crore vaccines extra, is what Mr. Stalin's plea is. Is there any data that we have, Dr. Anish, when it comes to private hospitals selling vaccines at a price and government hospitals selling vaccines for free? It appears that government hospitals are out of stock, but private hospitals do have the stock. So is it a question of people, even those who could pay perhaps, are unwilling to pay because vaccines are available for free? Is that what is really hampering the entire process of vaccination?
That is an aspect of that. Definitely, we do not have enough vaccines that is needed to protect our community. That is a real issue that we are facing. And we know that vaccination is the only way out. If you want to go out of this menace, you have to go for vaccination. At least it will protect your life. So as much vaccines you are giving or distributing to your community, that much lives will be saved. And this particular Delta wave or something like that, it has got very high reproduction number. You have to vaccinate almost 80% of your community. That is very important. So we have to use all methods of vaccination strategies that is available to us. People who can afford, they have to go for private sectors and they have to get vaccinated. And people who are actually poor and they cannot afford, definitely the government should purchase vaccines and distribute, because India is actually a home of these kinds of more people. And the state governments should actually channelize more vaccination along with the central ministry also. We have to go hand in hand. The central government, state government, even people, they have got money in their pocket.
Dr. Arora, what are you hearing? Dr. Arora, what are you hearing? You all deal with a lot of key stakeholders. Is there a gap in the overall number of vaccines which are available with government-backed bodies and the overall number of vaccines which are available with the private sector?
Yeah, if you look at the plight of the people who were looking forward to have a vaccine and still could not register on the COVID, it was a nightmare for them. I think it was a welcome relief by the government of India to have allowed the private sector to get the vaccine and offer it to the people who wanted and could afford it. And I'm sure there are plenty of them who wouldn't like to wait in the queue and who will not be able to register themselves on the COVID app. But the more important issue is, where do we have the vaccine? If you look at the mathematical models which have been calculated about 3 months back, that only if we are able to vaccinate at a pace of say 80 lakh vaccination per day, only then we'll be able to cover up our adult population of more than 18 years by the end of December. But that was only on paper. If you look at what is happening on day-to-day basis, the number of the vaccination per day has been plummeting. Now, if you look at the monthly figures, which should have been to the tune of about 30 crores a month, have come down to anywhere from
But
6
why?
to
That's
12
I know.
crores.
Yeah, we've looked at it, sir. There's a 58% drop from the 21st of June till the 10th of July. Now, 58% drop is a massive drop. Is it vaccine hesitancy? Is it lack of vaccines? What's the game? What's the story?
Yeah, it is. I think it is. There is no more vaccine hesitancy now. Vaccine is just not available. I think there has been enough of experience, especially with 30 crore population in India getting the vaccination and equal number of people in the world having significant number of vaccination without any substantial side effect. But where is the vaccine available? As you very rightly said, if the government sector, which has a big queues of people ready to get vaccinated, if their coffers are empty, where do they get the vaccine from? I think till we have a vaccination, why are we opening up all the lockdowns? Why are we allowing the people to go to the hill station and then we tell
So
them
we
they
come
don't have
back.
a
Good
COVID
point. So
appropriate behavior?
Dr. Chandra, then final question then to you, sir. If we don't have vaccines, there is no vaccine hesitancy, but we don't have vaccines. Clearly, as far as government-backed quota is concerned, then should we all just come to a consensus that till the time we don't work out a faster pace of vaccination, we are not going into a full unlock scenario, as seems to be getting done in certain states?
Absolutely. I think, as you could hear during this discussion today, that vaccine hesitancy is not the real issue. I mean, it is still there. I'm not saying that people are not hesitant, they are hesitant, but the issue is that the main issue is that the vaccine is not available. And till the time it is not available, till the time people are not able to get the free vaccine as they are looking forward to get, till that time, I think we'll have to avoid these crowds. We'll have to, kind of curb these kind of travels and people moving freely from one city to another or from one state to another. And that is the thing which needs to be done. And a very good thing which was done, I heard in Delhi, that those markets where crowding happened, immediately they started looking at it and started suspending the.
What it does tell us, Dr.
opening
Chandra, as I thank all of you for joining us in our big story tonight, what it tells us is this, that we as a community, we as a collective, honestly, folks, are not responsible enough, are not good enough to be thinking of collective well-being. Otherwise, what you've seen in Nainital, what you're seeing happen in Mussoorie and in Khandala and Lonavala, all these stories you wouldn't have seen if we were a group of people who were more responsible, who were stronger as a collective. Hopefully, better senses will prevail. Hopefully, the Prime Minister's tough talk will make citizens of this country who vote for him elections after elections think about their own safety and the safety of community as a whole.